Want to keep up with the latest LEGO Maker 96.1 videos? Make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Hello everyone, LEGO Maker 96.1 here with another video. And welcome back to another On This Day in History. It was on this day in history in 1862, the Battle of Harper's Ferry was underway. The Battle of Harper's Ferry was part of the Maryland Campaign, which lasted from September 4th to the 20th of 1862, ending with the Battle of Shepherdstown. Now, for those who study American history and the American Civil War as a whole, Harper's Ferry played a key role in the Civil War and what led following it. Now, I did cover Harper's Ferry in my On This Day in History video when I did the raid and, of course, the foundation of the Walt Disney Company in October, but I'll give you a brief history on what the raid on Harper's Ferry was about. The raid on Harper's Ferry occurred on October 16th and lasted to the 18th of 1859. Just 2 years before the outbreak of the American Civil War. Now, John Brown, who was an abolitionist, wanted to attack Harper's Ferry to spark a slave insurrection in the South. Now, for those who don't know, we had slavery in the United States, and of course, it's wrong. And today, it's still wrong. If those think it's okay, get out of here. Go stand in the corner and think about what you did. Now, Brown led his raid, but of course it ended in failure. He was surrounded by angry townsfolk and militiamen, and of course, U.S. Marines. He was soon captured and was tried for crimes against the state of Virginia and was later executed. Now, just 2 years later, or in April of 1861, Civil War had begun, and the battle lines were drawn between North and South, brother against brother, father against son, so on and so forth. Now, Harper's Ferry, even though it was part of Virginia, it didn't become part of West Virginia until 1863, during the American Civil War, mind you. Now, that town was under Union control. Now, it was under the command of Julius White and Dixon S. Mills. I'll talk about him later on in the video, so just keep an eye out for that. Now, those two were in command of the Union garrison in Harper's Ferry. Now, when the Maryland Campaign started in September of 1862, Confederate forces under the command of A.P. Hills and Thomas Jonathan Stonewall Jackson seized the heights around Harper's Ferry. Now, for those who don't know who Thomas Jonathan Jackson is, I'll explain. Thomas Jonathan Jackson was a legendary hero in the Confederate South. Now, he earned the nickname Stonewall Jackson because during the Battle of the American Civil War, the first major battle, Bull Run, he earned the nickname Stonewall Jackson because he stood like a Stonewall in that battle and rallied Confederate forces to him. And thus, Stonewall Jackson got his nickname. Now, at noon, the battle had begun, and it even started an artillery bombardment. Now, mind you, 10 years before the outbreak of the American Civil War, 1851 to be more precise, Thomas Jackson taught artillery at the Virginia Military Institute. He taught artillery. He was in the artillery. And yes, he did have military experience before. Now, Civil War generals like Grant and Lee, McClellan, Pickett, and Hancock and Armistead, they had military experience before. They fought in the Mexican-American War, which is a war long before the American Civil War. Oh yeah, it's actually true. If you look up their military history, they actually served in the Mexican-American War, which lasted from 1846 to 1848. So there you go. There's proof. Now, the battle ended with the surrender of Union forces in the city. Now you're probably wondering why. Well, apparently Mills wanted to surrender the city. He wanted to raise the white flag of surrender, but before he could, he was wounded by an artillery shell in the leg. Although he survived that day, he died of his wounds on the 16th. Now, Mills, of course, had military history. Like I said, he did serve in the Mexican-American War, but he also served in the Indian Wars, meaning the Second Seminole Wars and the Navajo War. Now, mind you, the Indian Wars has to do with fighting Native Americans. Yeah, after the United States became a nation, in fact, even long before the U.S. was the U.S., we were 13 small British colonies. And the British, mind you, during that time, and we started to colonize parts of the United States by invading Native American lands, cut down Native American trees, and digging up Native American earth. So basically, in other words, we picked up what the British started, and after we became a nation, and after the Revolution, or even during the Revolution to be more precise. Yes, we picked up what the British started. And to all my Native American subscribers out there, and to all those Native Americans, I just want to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what happened to your ancestors years ago, and I assure you something like that will never happen again. And to all my Native American subscribers out there, if I butcher any Native American names wrong, I deeply apologize, and I assure you it won't happen again. Now, Harper's Ferry ended with the surrender of the largest surrender up until the Battle of Bataan, which of course led to the Bataan Death March. And many Union soldiers were dubbed as cowards following the surrender. For example, the 126th New York was labeled the Harper's Ferry cowards for surrendering to Confederates. True story. But however, at Gettysburg, they did redeem themselves. Now, you're probably wondering, the largest surrender until the Bataan Death March? What do I mean? What do you mean by that? Well, I'll tell you, and this has nothing to do with the American Civil War, it's just a little tidbit. From January 7th to April 9th of 1942, the Japanese won on the Battle of Bataan, which of course led to the infamous Bataan Death March. It was there that American soldiers and Filipino soldiers were prisoners of war and were marched to death camp and were marched to prison camps by Imperial Japanese forces. Any soldier who fell behind in battle was murdered, was executed. This is why Sherman said, war is all hell. Now, about Mills. Dixon S. Mills had military service before. He graduated from the U.S. Military Academy in 1824 and had served throughout the Second Seminole Wars, the Mexican-American War, the Navajo Wars, and even until the Civil War, until his death in 1862. He had served throughout the U.S. Infantry Regiment until he was wounded in action and died of his wounds the next day. Now, it was rumored at the first major battle of the American Civil War that Dixon and Mills was drunk during the battle. Whether it's true or not, I don't think the guy was drunk. You know, it's like the same thing with Thomas Marr of the Irish Brigade. It was rumored that he was drunk and had a good taste of whiskey. It was like the same thing with Grant. True, Grant drinks, but I think he had apple cider before the fight of Shiloh. At least that's my opinion. But hey, if you want to drink, drink. Nothing can stop you. Now, in regards to the strength of the Union forces and Confederate forces at Harper's Ferry, I'll tell you. Now, well, it differs between... Now, this sort of thing differs. Now, according to Wikipedia, the strength of the Union Army was 14,000. The Confederates between 21,000 and 26,000. Now, according to American Battlefield Trust, which I'm a member of, the forces that were engaged was a combined total of 44,000. Now, 14,000 for the Union, which was the same as Wikipedia, but on American Battlefield Trust, it was 30,000. Now, as for the casualties, the Union loss was 12,636 total. This includes 44 dead, 173 wounded, 12,419 captured. The Confederates lost 286 is total. This includes 39 dead and 247 wounded. But according to the American Battlefield Trust, this is an estimated total. The estimated total was 12,922. For the Union, 12,636. The exact same. And for the Confederates, it's the exact same thing. 286. And yeah, like I said, it was the largest surrender until the Battle of Bataan. Now, even though the battle was won, and after more than 12,000 Union prisoners were being processed, Jackson rushed his men to Sharpsburg, Maryland, and rejoined Lee for the Battle of Antietam. Now, as we all know, I did cover Antietam on my On This Day in History video, which was part of the Maryland Campaign video, which I did. Now, as we all know, the battle ended in a Union victory. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. And that concludes this video. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, including many other videos that I've done on my channel, please feel free to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell notifications so that way you can be notified when I upload the next video. And as always, this is LEGO Mega 96-1, signing off.